In this video, we're going to look over how you can get your flu messages out using the new Mjog batch messaging service. So we should have the new interface in front of you, and we're going to start off by getting some templates down. Now, you may not have to do this. You might want to just free type out the message of your own creation. But if we want to use some of the Mjog templates, we're going to start in Template Builder. On the left-hand side, and in here, no matter which of the tabs we're landed on, we can go into Download Templates. Inside here, there are a multitude of different templates all listed within these tabs on the left-hand side. And so if we go into Flu, there are several in here, and you can preview what these look like using the icons to the kind of middle right of the page here. The little blue phone would represent what the text message would look like. And the little black obelisk here would represent what the message would look like if it was sent via web messenger or through Mjog Smart. And in many cases, like this one here, these templates would require an edit before we actually use them. So we're going to look over doing that as well. Let's pick ourselves, here we go, flu vac. Now again, you may just type out something all of your own making. If you type it, if you can type it, you can text it. So with this one, dear patient, you can have a free flu vaccination. Call the practice on a number to arrange yours. If you do not want one, reply decline. And of course, we'll have something very similar as the kind of smart message. Again, we've got this orange warning at the top to remind us that we do need to make these changes, and it breaks down what we're going to need to do in that panel. And there we have the actual meat of the message. Please give us a call to book a vaccination. And at the bottom, they can message back whether they want one or not. So when they message back that they do not want a vaccination, we can use that to code. Click on Download Templates to the center right of the page, and that is going to add it into your lists. And while we're here, we can do those edits. So if we're going to edit template, it's defaulted us straight to the template we need to work on. And again, it's got the instructions right here. So when you're on this page, it will break down what you're looking to do. And long story short, we're going to scroll down our template and find this big phone button here. It's an image anyway. And if you double click on that, it's going to bring you up this image properties box. And we're most interested here in the link tab. And in some cases, you'd use this to leave an actual internet link for people to click on. But in our case, we're just going to add in the number we would want people to call. I'm going to OK that. And now when that is received by the patient, when they click on the image, it's going to open up it's going to make a phone call. And with that done, we scroll to the top and we have our instructions back at the top here. Right click anywhere in this panel here and delete table. And those are our edits complete. That is now this template ready to go. We're going to need to scroll down a little bit and save our changes. And we're ready to go. So let's get back to our home page. We want to send a batch message. So middle of the screen here. And we need to give it a name. Next, it wants the list of patients we want to send it to. Now, we have got the CSV troubleshooting guide, and so do refer to that if you're having any problems. But ultimately, we require a list of either EMIS numbers or NHS numbers in a CSV file, not an Excel file. Select your file and open. It's going to look into that file. It finds the patients you want to reach and tells you how many you can and how many you can't. If there are any patients you can't reach, then at this time you would have an option to download a report of those patients who you can then reach by alternative means. Save and continue. And it's at this point that we tell it what we're going to send. And as I said, we can create a new message. We can keep that just to text if we like. And at that point, we have an area where we write out what we want to send. Alternatively, we may want to use that template we just used. So if we look kind of center right again, we can change template. It's going to have a warning if we've already started changing things, but we're going to go into here and look up our flu vac. That's going to preview out the two templates we have in place. As we can see, there's no instructions left on the smart message, so we're okay there. And we can use this template. We can still make edits here if we like. We've got our text message here if we wanted to add a bit more to it. We can attach PDFs, of course, as well. So maybe you have a document you want to send out related to the process you may be using to get people through the practice quicker, something like that. Then absolutely you can attach a document to it, and any patient with a smartphone will be able to receive that PDF into their hands there. One thing we also want to do at this point is make sure we have our coding in place. Message delivered is that they got the message. And so we probably want to add that into their record. We can click add. And at this point, we can search for the relevant code using a description, or you can cut and paste the relevant code out of your clinical system if you prefer. It's going to go into this box here. If we search out, the more specific you are with your search terms, then the less options you'll be presented with. Here we have some options, and then we pick whichever one is relevant. And we can also define any comments we'd like to add to that. With that code in place, provided the patient gets the message, then that code will go into their record. We can do similar should you be sending messages to numbers that no longer work. That's what message failed will do. And we then have the potential responses we may get back from this message. Do they want to have the vaccination? We can put a code in to say they do. And also we can put a code in to say that they do not. So similar to what we had with our message delivered, I'm going to add a code. And we're going to look up and apply whichever is relevant. If you are sending using both the text and smart channels, then we're going to have to apply those codes in here as well. So under message delivered and declines. We now have our message. It has a list of patients and it has the codes we want to use. So we can continue from here. If there's any areas where you've not added codes, you will get this prompt. So at this point, we can go back and apply codes as required. Alternatively, if you've got everything you need, continue without. And at this point, we pick when we want these messages to be sent. We can add our delivery date and pick a date that suits us. Alternatively, are you about to send this to a large number of patients, potentially asking them to all ring the practice at roughly the same time? You may not want to do that. Instead, if we select a date range, we can pick the first day that we want these messages to go out. Let's say we start on the 13th. And we can then spread that over how many days. We could have it so that the last batch of them goes out on the Friday. So we can save that. We can then define what kind of time we'd like this to go. I'd probably say sticking to a 10 AM start to 6 PM cutoff is maybe your best plan there. Of course, entirely up to yourselves. The alternatives are if you are sending a message and you want it to go straight away, then there is a straight away button. You will, of course, have to only send on that day, and you can't spread that over several. We can also send messages in more of the evening times, if you like, as well. But that's this message ready to go. Let's save and continue. We have a summary of all that's gone before. We have 9 patients looking to receive a message via different channels. We have breakdown of the messages that are going out and the coding that is attached to them, and when those messages are looking to go. From here, we can schedule. This is more of a confirmation button, so yes, schedule. And we're now back into the Batch Messages tab in the main Mjog homepage, confirming that our Flu 2021 message to 9 patients is all queued and ready to go. We now have an example of the message should it be received via Mjog Web Messenger. The patient receives an SMS, and that contains a link to the page which contains your smart message. This message has a button for them to be able to call the practice, and below that, the same option to respond.